Why do people climb mountains? Is it a drive to be the best?
You climb a mountain because you're like, that's the end. You're there, you're the end. You want to be the last. You want to say you did this because you've conquered everything.
Or is there something in us that seeks out thrills?
I think for a lot of people it's just because it's fun. It's not so much about the challenge, it's just what the experience is like while you're doing it.
Perhaps it's to accomplish something that others dare not to. There are moments in my life where I'm thinking, I just want to get out and experience something extreme. I think climbing a mountain is definitely one of those things.
From the desert heat of Los Angeles, we set off for the north, towards the highest peak in the contiguous United States, Mount Whitney.
We made our way into a nearby town called Lone Pine, where we would be spending the night before attempting to summit this mountain.
Here, we explored the town and got supplies, including wag bags, which are used to store waste. And then we organized our packs.
Today's the last night before we start our Whitney climb, and I've been feeling a sense of anxiousness. This is definitely the most we've ever prepared for a hike.
The only thing I would be worried about is falling off the mountain.
I'm a little anxious because last time I did this and I had to turn around just after trail camp. So I'm definitely anxious to do this again. I've been wanting to do this again.
The next morning, we stowed some of the lightest packs we had ever packed, got into the car, and headed for the hills.
As we drove through the Alabama hills, we could see Mount Whitney's peak looming overhead.
Before long, we were leaving the hot desert behind and entering alpine country.
Weeks of physical training, mental preparation, and planning had been leading up to this hike. But whether we could make it to the top remained to be seen.
Conifers towered over us as we entered Inyo National Forest.
We soon arrived at the trailhead. Here, at 5,000 feet above Lone Pine, the mountain air was brisk and refreshing.
We took our first steps through Whitney Portal. Now, it was time to review the plan. From here, we would hike up to Outpost Camp, spending a night there. The next day, we would set off for trail camp. We would spend another night. Then, we would ascend the 99 switchbacks, crest the mountain range, and hopefully reach the summit. Afterwards, we would head back down the same way we came, spending one more night at Outpost Camp before hiking out.
As the trail climbed higher, we were soon greeted by distant granite cliffs, alpine greenery, and incredible views. This is amazing.
Wait till we get a little higher.
Here, beaver-tail prickly pear cacti grew, and spiny lizards scurried across the granite rocks.
made our way higher up the trail, but in the verdant valleys below, dragonflies darted about, and waterfalls cascaded down the mountain's steep slopes.
But we set our eyes on the skies above, where the barren rocks and cold snowbanks resided.
But we still had a long way to go, and at our current elevation, there was still plenty of plant life thriving. No idea what these are, but these spiky little shells really remind me of chestnuts. And actually, I've seen shrubs like this in Yosemite that have little acorns on them, so it's some sort of like oak shrub. So I'm wondering if maybe this is somehow related to chestnut, even though the rest of it looks nothing like a chestnut tree. As it turns out, it was a bush chinquapin, in the same family as chestnut, and the spiny shells contain edible nuts.
As we hiked on, the beautiful scenery and invigorating hike filled us with optimism.
So I feel like we've made a ton of progress already.
Did you say you feel like you made a ton of progress?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything.
It feels like that though, doesn't it? Sure we haven't, but...
Let's not jinx ourselves right now.
Maybe it was all the training we had done, or the lightening of the loads. But so far, the hike felt much easier than we had expected.
The trail continued on, through thick patches of vegetation and across raging streams.
Although we don't often bring hiking poles on our trips, it's moments like these that make the right equipment critically important for hiking Mount Whitney.
The current and the slippery rocks can easily put you off balance without the help of poles.
And those of us who are less coordinated might prefer soggy feet to injury.
Though, as it turns out, crossing the stream wasn't actually necessary.
So apparently, there's a dry path over there you can go around and come out right here.
Well, I was thinking of going along the ledge on those rocks, but like the current's just so strong and the rocks are always slippery, I don't want to risk anything, so. Well, I'm feeling super healthy right now, but in case you had a fever, there's some elderflowers growing here. Really good for making tea. And when the flowers turn to berries, they're really good for making like jams and any other sort of delicious fruit item.
We continued on, entering the John Muir Wilderness. Here, the path opened up, and we were exposed to the sun and the huge cliffs above us.
But the shade of trees offered some welcome respite.
Oh, that's really weird. It is a lot cooler. It's not even that bad out there.
Yeah.
Eventually, the path led us to a view of a distant waterfall, and we decided to take rest under a tree and have a snack.
So what do you guys think?
So far, so good.
Yeah, I've got to say, like all the training and all the reducing pack weight seems to be helping a ton, because like this has been really nice.
I'm not suffering like I have in past times where we've been going up a mountain.
We are definitely going at a slower pace. We definitely have a lot more to do. But it's all right, we got the time. We're taking a long time getting up there. We're taking 3 nights, 4 days, and we're just, probably 3 miles away still.
I don't want to jinx anything, but this has been almost easy, I want to say.
Yeah.
Like it's encouraging that at least this portion hasn't been too bad.
My mom sent me this jerky, and I wanted to try it out, and it's really good, but there's a secret to it, and I want Andrew and Robby to see if they get the secret. Be careful, though, because it is quite saucy.
I know what the secret is, but it's really good.
All right.
That's tasty, smoky flavor. I also already know what the secret is because you told me last night.
Oh, you did? Okay, so it's vegan, right?
It's vegan.
It's good.
We continued on, and the trail again entered a lush section full of vibrant greenery and trickling streams.
And once again, the alpine air seemed to be getting to our heads.
Not sure what it is exactly, but I feel like we're making a ton of progress. I know it's still really high, but I feel like we're so much closer, so much quicker than what we normally do.
Adding to our hopefulness was the sight of a curious deer in the distance. We watched it for several moments as it frolicked about and grazed amid all the wildflowers. So down here we've got some really pretty scarlet penstemon flowers, pretty common in this area, and my favorite alpine plant is the paintbrush. And this is not only pretty, it's also an edible plant if you eat the little red parts. But you do want to avoid the green parts because they have a slight toxic chemical in them. And then this is some sort of a sage, and if you just give it a whiff, it's like such a fragrant smell, like soap or something. And I've also been seeing lots of yarrow growing here and there. And of course, that's got lots of medicinal properties.
And on the sections of the trails with less greenery, it was the distant scenery that captivated our attention.
As we climbed higher, once distant peaks seemed much more tangible. But Thomas put my hopeful outlook on the hike in check.
So that peak right there, that's not where we're going.
Dude, no, we are so far. We won't even see Mount Whitney until tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it higher than that by a significant amount?
Yes.
Holy cow, dude.
Let's make it to mile 1.
You haven't made it to mile 1 yet?
Nope. I feel like, nope. Nope.
During the hike, we would sometimes be taken aback by a loud roaring noise, which turned out to be the sound of jets overhead from the nearby Edwards Air Force Base.
But the sounds soon passed and we continued on, hiking past huge granite boulders that resembled ancient ruins.
The trail led us along a calm stream and eventually opened up into a flat, open area. Here, there was a junction with a trail leading to the Lone Pine campsite.
We took the detour to explore the campsite and its adjacent lake, which was a surreal crystalline blue.
Yeah, this is a detour, but do you see what's right there?
Oh, snow. Hit the snow line.
Holy crap.
So have you been to this lake before, Thomas?
No, I haven't. It was a little bit out of the ways last time, and I was just so fed up that I wanted to go home.
Oh my goodness. Look at this.
Water looks so crystal clear. I half expect to see coral reefs and tropical fish swimming around. Wow, this is awesome. The beautiful lake almost resembled a luxurious infinity pool, and the rocks and gnarled trees that surrounded it gave it a feeling of peaceful solitude.
And next to the lake was a snowbank with intricately carved patterns underneath.
Eventually, we continued on and officially entered the Whitney zone, where a permit is required to continue to the summit.
Here, the trees were thinning out, and we saw vast rocky valleys spattered with melting snowfields.
We kept hiking up rocky switchbacks where weathered granite cliffs towered above us.
But soon, the rocks gave way to a lush, verdant meadow.
We made our way through another stream crossing, where we arrived at Outpost Camp.
Finally, today's hike was done.
This is like one campsite where I could feel comfortable living here for a long time, you know?
Yeah, this is definitely home, man. Home for the night.
The campsite was absolutely beautiful. Wide open spaces, tall trees, and a soothing waterfall right in the backyard. Now, it was time to settle in and make ourselves at home.
I think I've gotten a lot better at setting this up since when I first set it up in Yosemite.
We set our tents up next to each other, and then went to fill up on water.
The cool mist from the falls and the sound of rushing water created a tranquil atmosphere.
We set our boots out to dry in the sun and decided to rest and relax for a little while.
But eventually, hunger set in, and it was time to eat dinner.
Just got a new pocket rocket. I'm gonna heat up some water. And one of the things is you can't have campfires here, so you really have to go with dehydrated meals, or if you really feel like bringing some stuff and cooking, go for it. But we wanted a light pack, so that's why we brought this stuff. So let's do this.
So at a higher altitude, water boils slower, I think, because it's less pressure.
I think it's faster because you need to boil it longer because it's not really boiling. It's not reaching the temperature.
As Thomas gave me a refresher course in 5th grade science, the water slowly reached a boil.
You should probably read the instructions first. Open pouch and remove oxygen absorber. You don't need to do that. All right, now it says seal this for about 10 minutes.
Oh, there's 2 in there. Tried to trick me, it got 2. Oh, you think you learned your lesson?
Wait, there were 2? Check yours, there's not 2. No. Not again. No, yours must have been weird.
I guess I won the prize. It's getting hot.
There's no point in leaving this on.
Okay.
What the hell? Cheers.
I have to say, I've used metal and wood stuff. This is the most ultralight utensil I've ever had. It's still a little liquid in there, but...
Let me see yours. Oh, yeah, mine is all super.
Yours is pretty super. Bon appetit.
I've had better.
Neither of you seem too happy.
I've had better, but for the weight, it's worth it.
For a second, I thought it was the bug spray residue on my lips, but I think it's the weird spices in here. How's some of mine? Just me, or is it kind of bitter?
Oh. I do not like this.
It's bitter, right?
Yeah.
I want to see you try
Maybe
it.
there was a third desiccant.
Whoa, that is bitter.
Either the chives or the cilantro, they put way too much in because it's just like you can taste all the bitter greenery.
Well, I'm curious how yours tastes. Because yours have the one with chicken, but other than that, it's the same.
Yeah.
You're not sounding too hopeful. I've resigned myself to my fate.
I decided to mix a few spoonfuls of peanut butter into my food.
I'm hoping the sweetness will overpower the bitterness, or at least make it a little more pleasant. It's gotten better. It'd be good with some salt, but
It helped a little bit, but it's still not enjoyable.
Now it kind of tastes like a Thai peanut sort of deal. Okay, this is the one with chicken. Let's see if the chicken helps. Still bad. Doesn't help that much. That's just all we have to eat, so I'm gonna eat some of this. It's passable. It'll be fine.
it's funny, the thyme chicken sounded not.
We finished our less than palatable food and got our tents ready for the evening. We've retired in our tents until it gets dark so we can look at the stars, and all I can hear are noises and chirps from Thomas and Andrew in the other tent.
Me and Thomas are in the tent together, and it smells like a damned outhouse.
Why?
Because you've been farting so much. But anyway, I think we're gonna be comfortable tonight. It's
I am.
It's cozy. It's very cozy. You have nothing to add, I can tell.
I got nothing to say.
The remainder of the evening was spent resting in our tents. We wanted to conserve our energy and get used to an early sleep schedule so that we could be well rested when it came time to summit Whitney.
As the stars passed overhead and we lay beneath the granite bluffs, our backs against the ground, it felt as though we had become one small part of the mountain.
We arose early at dawn. It was a brisk, chilly morning, but before long the sun graced the campsite with its warm embrace.
Near our tents, a Sooty Grouse was busily pecking at the ground for food.
And before too much time passed, we decided to get to work as well. We packed up our tents and set out onto the trail.
The trail led us past a churning stream surrounded by thick shrubs, whose medicinal properties might prove useful at higher altitudes.
So this stuff growing in the river is willow. And altitude sickness is a big problem. We ran into some people who had to leave because they got some altitude sickness. But if you chew the bark of willow, it's actually got the compound that's in aspirin in it. So that's one natural remedy if you were in some sort of an emergency situation.
As we hiked along the trail, we couldn't help but stop every so often to admire the view.
We kept climbing up the path, and it wasn't long before the campsite and meadow were far below us.
The trail again wound through a flowing stream flanked by willows, before leading us to the serene Muir Lake.
This might be the most justifiably named body of water that's called Muir Lake.
We filled up on water and continued on our hike. We climbed higher and higher. Now the trees and vegetation thinned out, exposing bare, weathered rocks.
We stopped to admire the view below, astonished at how quickly we had gained in elevation.
We sensed that we were at a turning point in our hike. We set our sights on the snowy mountain slopes above.
Just as we thought, the path had become littered with large rocks and melting patches of snow.
We enjoyed one last view of Muir Lake below us before hiking on. Soon, we got our first small taste of mountain hiking in the snow.
Well, where the trail usually goes, there's a bit too much snow. And I've been just kind of following where the footprints lead, and there's no footprints in the snow. It looks like some people are taking the long way around here, or if you want to just walk up this rock, you can do that. I think we're going to do that.
We reached a scenic overlook and admired the view of the valley below.
But ahead of us was more rock and snow. It was time to keep moving.
Now, we were truly above the tree line. Only the hardiest patches of scrub grew from the granite.
We have definitely entered a no man's lands of sort. The winds are really strong, and it's just rocks.
I think this right here is my favorite part of the whole section. The trail has turned into a stream, and we have to head upstream. So that'll be fun. Ready?
Ready?
Yeah. Let's go.
Look at that mountain in the distance. That's not Mount Whitney. So whatever that is, it's shorter than Mount Whitney. Thomas, what type of fool's errand have you led us on?
That's higher than a Grateful Dead fan on April 20th.
Thankfully, we had made it past the stream with no problems. But soon, it seemed we had come to an impasse.
When we were coming up, we saw some people heading up this snowfield right here. But now that I'm getting closer, I'm looking, you can see a few crevasses where the undercurrent is right now. And the problem is, if you're not careful, everything looks flat and even on this side, but you know, it might be hollowed out underneath, and one bad step and you might fall through.
I was thinking maybe we could scramble up the rocks to the right, but Thomas said he didn't see anyone do that.
Thomas and I carefully inspected the snowbank. But then we spotted a group of people hiking up the trail just a few yards away from us.
Somehow we had missed the trail completely after hiking through the stream, but now we were back on course.
Before long, we reached a fork in the road, with one path continuing on the trail and another going through the snow.
We just hit the snowbank and we're opting for the stairs. We'll have snow tomorrow, but for now we're sticking to the stairs. But it smells just like a fresh glass of ice water. Like, it's really refreshing smelling. I'm glad that I smell that and not my wag bag.
We just got a height update from Thomas. We're at 11,000 feet.
Yeah, I had the chance to go skydiving once. That's the height the plane was at when I jumped out.
This is a foolhardy endeavor, I feel like.
I'm actually feeling okay right now, though, but I think tomorrow's really the kicker.
As we hiked along the trail, we saw other hikers making their way up the snowfield. We thought we had chosen the easier path, but up ahead was a potential obstacle.
Okay, so the problem now is we don't know if we're supposed to cross that big, wide, snowy gap.
We saw some people heading this way, and it seemed like they wanted to take the safer route, but that definitely doesn't look as safe as going up this.
I think there's no way anybody needs to cross that. There's no way you would have paths this safe up to now, and then just suddenly no handrails, anything, and a bank of snow.
But that's the thing. This is the whole point of Whitney, is this thing, depending on how bad the snow is, this is totally possible.
No, totally possible is one thing, but this is clearly the path for people who don't have all the gear.
Let's go this way. I think we should go this way. See what's going on. We can turn back around if we need to.
We'll turn back around and go where we need to go.
But it wasn't long before we ran into some other hikers who had decided to turn around.
You guys came back down?
Yeah, I guess the snow blocks the trail up there, so you have to jump to that trail.
Nope.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. Apparently, there's some snow that's blocking the way up there, and you have to jump to that trail.
Between hiking across the steep snowy slope and having to jump to the trail, we decided to backtrack and make our way to the snowfields. Hiking up a snowfield seemed much safer than hiking across one.
We saw one brave hiker who had continued on the trail.
But as for us, it was time to don our microspikes and head out onto the ice.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't even move my feet if I want to.
Thankfully, the microspikes proved to be quite effective. And between those and our hiking poles, heading up the snow would be a cinch.
Are you sure that's not Mount Whitney?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
This is the slushiness I was telling you about. This is what I want to avoid tomorrow on the switchbacks. The slushiness of this.
The sun had melted some of the snow, turning it into a slippery slush.
Although it was fairly easy hiking up the snow, hiking across snow this slippery might prove risky.
Soon, we reached the end of the snowfield and came to an open, almost tundra-esque landscape.
Got a lake you can jump into.
I don't know about that. This is the third time we've come to an area where there's an open, flat land that could be sea level, and that would already be a big mountain. I didn't know places this high existed, to be honest.
Here, small streams trickled into the frigid Consultation Lake.
From the lake, it wasn't much further to tonight's campsite. We stopped and enjoyed the view of the lake and the colorful wildflowers that had sprung up around it.
Although we were close to trail camp, we still had one more snowfield to hike up, and I was running into some equipment problems.
Oh. Defective pole. It's not good.
It's so weird. The higher we go, the different seasons we go to. Obviously, we started in summer, but now this is just straight up spring. And look at these flowers. Wow. Every time we see someone coming down from trail camp, we ask them, have they made it to the summit? And there are two thoughts I have for this. One is someone who didn't get to the summit last time. If you didn't get to the summit, it's like a really salty question to ask. Did you get to the summit? No. Secondly, it sounds like a lot of people are taking the switchbacks, but if you get to the top of the switchbacks too late when it's slushy, then it sounds pretty sketchy up there. So that's why we're thinking about starting really early tomorrow to try and get to that part while it's still frozen. Use our microspikes and our poles and hopefully get past there. And if not, that's all right.
Okay, one of those peaks has to be Mount Whitney.
Nope. Gotta keep going.
You don't think it's that one right there?
No, it's not. I promise you it's not.
Finally, we made it to camp. Though the hike hadn't been too bad, we all felt exhausted. The hot sun was bearing down on us, and with no trees to provide shade, the only respite was inside our tents. which were about 10 degrees hotter.
So how are you feeling?
I'm better.
I'm not even exhausted or tired from the hike itself, like in terms of cardio stuff. It's just like the sun beating down on you and reflecting off the snow. It just sucks the energy out of you.
Could be worse. And everyone else seemed to do it, so can't complain too much.
I think it's easier than like some of the stuff we've done at Yosemite or...
That's because you've been training.
I think for me, the biggest hurdle has been the elevation. It's like so weird. You take a breath and it doesn't feel satisfying. Question of the day. Do you guys think we can make it?
I really don't know if we can make it. Coming up to trail camp, everyone was saying, oh, we didn't make it. Oh, we didn't make it.
Very few of those people are spending the night at trail camp, though.
That and they don't have crampons. And hiking later in the day, they don't have microspikes. I think that's the biggest. We've already gone up several snowshoots and it's no problem.
Let me just look. That's literally what we're doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Between the exhaustion of the sun and an altitude-induced headache that Robby was suffering, we began to doubt whether we could make it to the summit.
For now, all we could do was put up with the heat and the sunlight and try to get some rest.
Conditions here felt harsh, and we had to motivate ourselves to cook our food and fill up on water.
But as evening came and the sun fell behind the mountain peaks, we found some relief in the shade and spent time with some newly made trail friends before heading to our tents for sleep.
Okay, so tonight is the last night before the really big day.
Yes.
The one we've all been anxiously thinking about.
This is true.
Do you think we can make it?
We'll see. I'm fine if we don't. I think we can. But like I said, I'm managing my expectations, and if we decide that we want to turn around, the mountain will always be there. Mm-hmm. But, if we do something dumb, we might not be there.
Yeah. The snowbanks are one concern, right?
Yeah. So snowbanks are honestly our biggest concern right now.
I feel confident that we can do it, though, because the hike up today was not that bad.
Especially if we get there early enough. We're waking up at around 4 a.m. We're going to take 15 minutes to get ready. We're going to be on the trail. But, I don't know. There are a lot of people saying that they've made it, and a lot of people saying that they haven't made it. So, well, either way, we got to get some sleep soon.
Yeah. It's like 8 o'clock, and that'll give us a good 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the nap helps, too.
Yeah. All right, ready?
All right, yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Our peaceful night's sleep abruptly came to an end by the sound of our alarms. As early as we were awake, there were already hikers making their way up the 99 switchbacks.
The air was frigid cold, and we shivered as we scrounged around our tents to make sure we had everything we needed.
Between the barren, rocky landscape and the brilliant starry sky, it almost felt like we were explorers on a harsh, alien planet.
I think we're just about ready to go. The other group has already headed up. We can see their flashlights. We got light packs. Everybody feeling good?
I think so.
Me too. Let's do it. Okay, so we're looking at the group up there, and they haven't moved in a while, and it looks like there's somebody down and to the right, and I swore that I saw a flashlight or something fall down, and we also heard somebody, not scream, but we heard a noise up there. So,
yeah, I thought it was a whoop or something.
So, 2 thoughts. One, if somebody is injured up there, we're going to go see if we can help. 2, if somebody's injured, we're not going to do this at night.
We hiked through camp and made our way in the dark towards the switchbacks.
I think we're on switchback number 3. And, welcome to the 99 switchbacks. I'm looking at the footprints, and there are definitely footprints here, right? I think we should double back and take that route that we saw earlier, because I don't see too many footprints here.
Right from the start, the trail proved difficult to navigate. At night especially, it can be really hard to see where the trail is. And you'll see hints of a switchback, but then you'll see snowy fields where people have walked across. And sometimes it can be tough to find your way. We were told the other day that someone once
hiked at night and went 200 feet, like deviated 200 feet from the trail and had to turn back.
I remember this. It was a little brighter last time I was here, but this is as far as I made it last time. I had to turn around, so let's keep going.
We continued on, but soon saw the hikers that we suspected had run into some trouble.
So it looks like that group hasn't moved at all. We're still really curious if somebody fell or not.
Okay, it looks like somebody did fall or somebody's way off track, one of the two.
Are you okay?
Oh, there's a flashlight coming on the left. Okay, somebody did fall for sure.
Yeah. I hope they're not hurt.
Well, we definitely think someone fell. They're probably in good enough shape and an extra 3 people won't really help. But we do have this GPS emergency thing that will call for help up the last person who's coming down.
Okay, yeah, that's the whole group then.
I feel like we need to get somehow closer and communicate with them and ask if they need to send us or need us to send out a signal.
Once they've started moving, we can decide what to do. Because we don't want to get out of sight of them and then lose track of what they're doing.
Thomas and I are going to go up ahead and see if we can get a better vantage point and maybe communicate with them. You're staying here, keeping an eye on them. We'll see what's going on.
Okay.
Eventually, much to our relief, the group started moving again. It seemed that they were all safe.
Are you guys okay?
I called out to them and asked if anybody was injured. They said everybody's okay. The chute is still not safe to take. And I said, are you guys just gonna go back down? You gonna try to take the switchbacks or what? And they said they're gonna go discuss.
All right, well, that's a little bit more encouraging for us because I thought we saw them
Yeah.
fall down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I guess we're just gonna keep going, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
We were happy nothing had happened, but waiting to check on the group had cost us quite a bit of time. Dawn had set in, which meant it wouldn't be long before the icy snow, several switchbacks ahead of us, started thawing.
We continued winding up the rocky switchbacks, left and right and left and right. And now, the sun was just starting to rise with a brilliant flash of crimson.
Eventually, we reached a section of the switchbacks where old cables were installed.
Yeah, see, there are the cables right there.
Here, snow covered the trail, so it was time to spike up.
One of the unofficial ways to tell if the trail is open or not is if the cables are visible or not. Because if they're not,
They're covered in snow?
if they're covered in snow, you can't get up there.
The hard, icy snow was difficult to traverse over, and at times it forced us to squeeze ourselves through narrow passageways.
Absolutely. That part right there was so icy with all this water dripping down on it.
That was a precarious section. The cables have been so pushed down by the snow that they don't even serve a purpose anymore.
Now, as we were past the cables, it felt as though we were nearing the top.
There it is. First sun. It's like someone flipped on the switch. That's a bit of a drop.
The entire mountainside glowed orange in the morning sun's light, and as it warmed up, we removed some of our layers of warmth before continuing on.
From our new vantage point, we realized we had been hiking up a narrow, rocky spine for the past hour or so.
And as we went on, we bumped into a brave little marmot.
We ran into a small patch of snow, but up ahead, a group was making their way across the first true snowfield crossing.
Before long, it was our turn to do the same.
Without careful and deliberate steps and proper equipment, you could slip and slide all the way down the snowy slope.
Thankfully, we made it across and continued winding up the switchbacks.
Well, I think we're making decent progress. I will say there's parts that make me nervous, but like, it's going better than I was worried about.
We crossed one more snowfield, which was incredibly precarious, but soon we had made it to the trail crest.
Here, we could peer out onto the other side of the mountain range, where we were met with a stunning view.
What? What? Oh my god.
Now, we hiked into the western side of the mountain range, crossing into Sequoia National Park.
We reached a trail junction where we chatted with some incredible PCT hikers.
That way, not
Do
Whitney.
not come to the top of this when you're 8 miles from it.
Amen.
This is the last stretch.
That's it, Thomas.
Everywhere we've been.
That's what we've been working for. I'll give you one guess which one's called Guitar Lake down there.
Here, on the Crest Trail, there were sections that were incredibly precarious, with sheer drops and rough, rocky trails that were difficult to navigate.
A little bit scarier than what we were just hiking on.
That's Mount Whitney.
Whoa.
You can see the shack up there.
Okay.
Oh, at the oh, whoa. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Wherever we hiked, we could peer to the left and right and see down the sides of the mountain's western and eastern slopes. It was truly a surreal experience.
That's my nervous laugh.
Am I alive right now? Is this real?
Well, I have no doubt in my mind that we are going to summit it. Now, it's just a matter of how are we going to get down and how am I going to do getting down?
It's not even so much the physical exhaustion. I mean, that's definitely a part of it. It's also the mental exhaustion of navigating your way around some of these trails, because like some of the parts are just rocks, like crammed together.
My main problem is that I've got an altitude headache. And every step we take higher and higher, we get stronger. Hope we get there soon.
It was a long and grueling hike, and we were all nearing our limit. But eventually, we reached the base of Mount Whitney's summit.
Thomas, this is the final climb.
Yeah, it is.
The honor is yours.
Thank you.
And then finally, we had reached it. The top of Mount Whitney.
How do you feel, Thomas?
Oh, worth it. Totally worth it.
Last year, Thomas asked me to go on this hike with him, and I opted for the beaches of Hawaii instead. But I think that was much to my parents' relief, especially my mom. And she's probably worried sick right now, but at least if she's watching this now, she knows I'm back home safe. But I just really want to say, I was born with this congenital heart disease, and I remember as a kid, hiking up mountains that, compared to this, were just like small hills, would make me completely exhausted and out of breath. And it's thanks to their care and their love that I'm now able to hike to the highest mountain in the contiguous United States with relatively little trouble. So, thank you, Mom and Dad. I just want to say hi, and I love you from the top of the United States, besides Alaska.
You know, getting to the top is definitely something I wanted to do for a while, but I think getting to the top was far more enjoyable.
I don't know what I think, it's really cool to be up here.
When we got to the top of Japan and we got to the top of this, both of them felt anticlimactic to me. Like both times I was like, man, that was really hard. But that was also kind of it, wasn't it?
No, seriously though, like, so you've been pining after this mountain for so long, like.
Yes and no. I mean, it's not like I tried last year, I wanted to do it, I couldn't do it. And at some point in my life, I'd wanted to do this hike.
We actually did make it though.
We did.
Yeah.
We made it stop. We're on the top right now.
Now the tricky part is going down. You know who's missing out here?
Who is missing out, Thomas?
Andrew?
Brian. We wish you could be here, although probably pretty glad that you didn't have to do that last hike.
Have a lobster on us.
It's a good journey.
Yeah, I'm in no rush to come back anytime soon. But I'm glad I did.
Why do people climb mountains? The truth is, there's an aspect of it that appeals to our pride, our ambition, our desire to seek out thrills and to conquer challenges.
When we climb a mountain, there's a part of us that looks forward to boasting about the hardships we overcame and the extremes we dared to face.
There's a seductive draw to mountains that appeals to the side of us that we aren't always ready to admit is there.
But when we take our first steps towards its summit, the ancient rocks beneath our feet reveal the true complexity of things.
The further we climb, the more the mountain wears at our muscles and withers away our egos.
The animals scamper and soar around us, the streams flow with ease, and above us the trees tower high, and we remember, here, we are no conquerors of the earth, merely its guests.
Before long, we were above the tree line. Here, our pride swells again. We have braved inhospitable terrain.
But the sun drains us of our energy, and we remember that one misstep could be our end. And so, the mountain again reacquaints us with humility.
When we finally reach the summit, there is a twinge of disappointment.
There's still a sense of accomplishment with having reached the top, but somehow, it isn't quite as glorious as we imagined.
And it's here that we discover that, in the end, reaching the summit didn't matter at all. It was merely a catalyst, a challenge to our pride that led us to train harder than we ever had, to push ourselves further.
It was our pride and ambition that made us set our sights on the top of the highest mountain in the contiguous United States.
And it was that pride that spurred us to put in the work that would lead us to the summit. It was that pride that motivated us to train, to grow stronger, to better ourselves. It was the ambition that drove us to reach the summit, even though, once we were there, we realized that we weren't that special for having reached the top.
At the top of a mountain, you realize that getting to the summit is no achievement. The true achievement lies in embarking on a journey in which you better yourself. As we prepared for the summit, we trained, improved our strength, and our general health. But beyond that, we had become focused and determined in all of life. We improved ourselves.
Challenges arise all the time in life. Sometimes it's a mountain. And sometimes it's losing a job, or a physical ailment, or a breakup. In these moments, we may feel lost, confused, angry. And as a response, we may feel the need to feed our ego, to take back our pride and conquer these challenges. Although our ego often impedes us from being better people, when confronted by a challenge, it can also disrupt our complacency and drive us towards a path of genuine self-improvement.
Perhaps we did come to Whitney hoping to leave with bragging rights and an inflated ego. In the end, it proved to be a challenge that shook away our complacency and brought us a step closer to becoming better people.
We had climbed Mount Whitney to conquer it, to leave our mark on it. But when we left, the mountain had left its mark on us.
Civilization.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, man. Human waste disposal. What a sight for sore eyes.
Tom's pour one out for Bryan.
For Bryan.
I'm getting my souvenir.
Car is officially packed up. It is time for burgers and souvenirs. So these are our burgers. Look at that. And they gave us a free pancake, man.
How big this is? My hand is already huge.
Put your head next to that, Andrew.
To Mount Whitney. To Mount Whitney.
Summiting Mount Whitney.
So shout out to my mom, I'm still safe, I'm alive, my dad, and the Wilderness Travel Course through the Sierra Club.
Shout out to WTC leaders, especially Mike Adams, Brian Decker, Georgie Yu, one that we miss dearly. Thanks to you guys, we are here up in Mount Whitney safely and we are enjoying ourselves. WTC!
お父さんお母さん、それからみーやんと、中垣家と、それからえみちゃん元気？アメリカで一番高い山に来てます。元気で毎日遊んでます。こんなお姉ちゃんですけどよろしくね。またね。
We're on our way to whitewater rafting. Starts at 9:30. It's 8:56. Breakfast was had. How you guys feeling?
Feeling good. So a little nervous, but good.
I just gotta go to the bathroom and I'll be fine.
Okay, I think this is the place. A good end to Whitney.
Yeah. And all of this water comes from Mount Whitney.
Yeah. The very same that we drink from this cup. That's what all that pink snow was.
Great day to climb a mountain.
I wonder how Andrew and the others are doing.
So last night I go to sleep, right? And got a headache. Headache's not going away. I wake up and I'm like, I do not feel good. And I'm like, is this a throw up? And then I have like a heat wave and I'm like, oh God, I don't feel good. So I got the wag bag out, right? Yep.
Oh no.
Got the wag bag out and I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, I recognize this feeling. Did you ever do Chinese camp?
Yeah, but not with you guys.
Okay, so one time while I was there, I thought that you couldn't go to the bathroom anytime you wanted. So I just kept holding it and holding it and holding it. It was number 2. By the time I went, I was walking down the hall with heat waves going through my body.
Oh man.
And then once I went to the bathroom, I was fine. Okay, and I recognized that feeling. I was like, this is the same feeling. So I'm like, okay, I gotta take care of this. First, I gotta go pee. So I walked out and I peed so that the whole wag bag wouldn't be filled with pee.
Yeah, no, that's...
So that was step 1. I came back and then I just completely de-pants. So I'm completely butt naked from the waist down. And then I get down on the floor like this over the wag bag. In the tent? In the tent. What? In the tent. I'm butt naked from waist down in the tent.
Why? Because it was warm or what?
Yeah, no, it was too cold outside. I wasn't gonna move. I needed to relax. So then I went, and I could give you more details, but once I finished, I felt much better.
God, I'm sorry you had to experience that. My wag bag experience is much smoother. Huh?
No, the wag bag is like...
No, it's huge.
I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, just saying, what if you missed? You just had like a...
Well, see, when I was wag bagging, I was holding it right up to my butt. It's like, so there's no room for error. But when I was doing that, I was like, uh-oh. Like, the pushing of the poop is making me need to pee. So I, like, had to stand up in the middle of it and pee out on this rock in front of me.
It's not going to make it in the episode.
No, but doing it on all fours is actually way better than squatting.
Really?
Yeah, it's much more comfortable.